Today I'm going to show you how to make some Viennese whirls. For this recipe you're going to need 200 grams of butter, 50 grams of icing sugar, 200 grams of plain flour. You're going to need some vanilla extract, so 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 2 teaspoons of corn flour along with half a teaspoon of baking powder, and that's to make the biscuits, and that would make 20 halves. You'll get 10 Viennese whirls in total. And for the filling you're going to want to have 100 grams of butter and 170 grams of icing sugar, and then either strawberry or raspberry jam depending on your preference, and that'll be about 50 grams. Okay, and then equipment wise you're going to need an electric whisk, probably a spatula and a butter knife, definitely a sieve, your measuring spoons, a piping bag, bowls to mix up your biscuit dough and also the filling, so you'll need 2 bowls, and then also you're going to need to have 2 lined baking trays. Okay, let's get started. Start by preheating your oven to 180 degrees centigrade or 160 if you've got a fan oven. That's equivalent to gas mark 4. Okay, as you can see, I've cut my butter up into smaller chunks to help it soften slightly, and then to that I'm going to add my icing sugar. And with my electric whisk, I'm going to beat these ingredients together until they are light and fluffy. This may take you about 5 minutes to do, but just be patient with it, okay? Start off on a low setting initially, just in case all of the icing sugar goes everywhere into a big cloud, okay? Okay, and then to that I'm going to add in the vanilla extract. Okay, so remember for the filling you only want 1 teaspoon, but for the biscuits you want 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So just very carefully measure that and do it over the bowl, and just in case you spill anything. And then with your electric whisk, make sure that's fully incorporated. I'm just going to take the whisking parts out and just get my butter, sugar, vanilla extract mixture just off of that and put those to one side for a minute. Because next we want to sift in the 2 flours and the baking powder. So with a clean measuring spoon I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of corn flour, and I'm going to put that into my plain flour initially. I'm going to sieve all my dry ingredients in together. So 2 teaspoons of my corn flour into my plain flour, and then half a teaspoon of baking powder. It's also going to go into my plain flour, and then I'm going to sieve that in all together. Just make sure you get rid of any lumps and you've really aerated your mixture. Okay. Then with my spatula, I'm then going to fold this all together until I form a biscuit dough. Just make sure you scrape the sides of the bowl so you don't have any leftover ingredients that haven't been incorporated. Okay, so here is my biscuit dough completely mixed in now. Okay, it's a lot wetter than normal biscuit mixture. Alright, and we're going to pipe it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little trick for getting this into your piping bag with as little hassle as possible. So what I like to use when I'm trying to fill a piping bag is actually a big glass, normally a pint glass. So what you want to do is open up your piping bag and unfold it, or fold it back at least halfway. Okay, pop the nozzle into the glass and then fold, or make sure the rest of the bag is on the outside of the glass. Okay, you see that? Makes it a lot easier because then you've got both hands free if you need them. Just try and get. And what you can do is just shake the bag. Get that mixture as far down as you can. If you need to, you might have to pinch it between your thumb and your finger and try and just squeeze as much down to the end as possible. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Go. So that's my piping bag filled with all of my mixture. Okay, so here's my piping bag completely filled up then. So what you want to do is you want to take your thumb and your index finger and you want to put your piping bag, you want to sit your piping bag in between those two digits. You want to squeeze the top to get have as much free space between, you know, where your dough ends and then the bag ends. So as much space as you can get, put your thumb and your index finger at the top of your dough, and then you want to actually twist the bag. So keep this part of the bag still and clamped between your thumb and your index finger, and then you want to actually twist the rest of the piping bag. And can you see the dough starting to come out the end? Okay, so you want to keep your hand still, but then with your other hand twist the bag. Okay, and the pressure will start to force the dough out. Okay, so with the piping bag tight in your finger and thumb, you want to pipe in a swirl, so in a spiral type shape. Okay. And you want your circle to be about 5 centimeters in diameter. If you can, try and pipe your swirl in one. Okay. So you end up with something that looks a little bit like that. Don't worry if some of your biscuits aren't a perfect circle, because what you can do is you can choose your best ones and those can be the tops of your Viennese Whirl biscuits, and then the not so attractive ones, not so good looking ones, they can be the bottom. Alright, so I'll just show you that again. like so. So you want to keep the pressure, you want to keep using your hand to force the dough out of your piping bag as you are basically drawing your swirl. And then when you get to the center, you want to just stop adding pressure. Okay, so I'm going to let go and just take my piping bag away. And you want to leave, I would say, 2 to 3 centimeters space in between your biscuit swirls, just to allow for expansion when they're cooking in the oven. All right, so you're going to have 2 baking trays and you want to pipe 10 swirls on each. Okay, so I finished piping my 20 biscuit halves, so about 10 on each tray, and I'm going to put those into the oven to bake now for between 10 to 12 minutes. And what I will do is I will swap my trays around in the oven halfway through baking, just to ensure that everything bakes completely evenly. Okay, so here are my biscuits out of the oven and cooling now. So what I'll do is, while I'm waiting for them to be completely cold, I will start to prepare my filling of buttercream. Okay, and then I'll get my jam and I'll fill my biscuits and assemble them for you. Making the buttercream filling is ridiculously easy. All you need to do is put some your softened butter and your icing sugar into a large mixing bowl. And then what I would do is I would just start to chop up the butter and mix it with the icing sugar gently initially, because as you can see, it's really fine. So you'll get lots of dust clouds. But once you've partially mixed this in, you can then use your electric whisk to beat this together to make a nice, smooth, even consistency. I'm going to add in my vanilla extract, so just 1 teaspoon. There's a lot of sugar in here, so it's very sweet already. Okay, and that is all you're going to need for filling your biscuits, but don't attempt to try and assemble your biscuits if they are even a little bit warm, because all you'll find is that your buttercream and your jam will just melt and pour out of them, and it'll be an absolute waste of your time. So just wait until they're really cold. As you can see, I've now turned my biscuits upside down, because the side that you want to be putting your filling on is the flat side. And you can either transfer your buttercream into a piping bag and pipe sort of some very neat dollops in the middle of your biscuits, or you can just get a knife and you can just spread your buttercream on like so. You're going to be sandwiching them together, so it depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. So remember that this buttercream is just for 1/2 of your biscuits. So just 10 halves will have the buttercream on, and the second lot of 10 halves you'll spread a thin layer of jam. You could have a go at making your own jam using either fresh raspberries or strawberries and chai seeds. You'll notice that I haven't put my buttercream or my jam up to the edge of my biscuits. That's because when I sandwich my 2 halves together, you'll probably find that it will push those fillings outwards, okay, and it will push them to the edge. We don't want anything coming out the outside. Okay, so if I just show you. So put 2 halves together, nice and gently. Just give them a very gentle squeeze in the very centre. Okay, now you can see there's your completed Viennese whirl. And you can decide which is the neater side. Okay, and that will be your top. So there you have your 10 Viennese whirls.